Hey everyone, welcome back. We are in chapter 4 today, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys so we can begin our discussion and talking about social interaction on an everyday basis. When we think about social interaction on an everyday basis, you see the questions that are here. What is social interaction, and how do we make sense of the way people function or they process their behavior and their interaction on a day-to-day basis? And the way that we get there is coming to a place where in sociology, we look at two very specific things: our status and our roles. The status is going to be the position that someone occupies at a specific time. And then the role, I'm just going to go ahead. The role is the expected behavior of a particular status that a person may be functioning in. So let me go back. When we talk about our status, we're looking at sometimes our status that we have. We may be functioning in different positions that are determined by our environment. So you see here when we talk about the status set, we have the status that any one particular person holds at any given time. So right now for myself, I am actually, some of the things that you see here, I am a daughter to my parents, I am a mother to my children, I am a sister to my brother, and I am the college instructor for my students. When we talk about the status, we have to recognize there are three different types of statuses that people can achieve. We have our ascribed status, our achieved status, and the master status. The ascribed status is an involuntary position. Now I need you to think about this. What is an ascribed status that someone would be able to define you by that is involuntary at birth? Think for a minute. Consider your gender. Consider your race. These are things that are involuntary at birth. Consider your socioeconomic status as a child. It was involuntary at birth. Our achieved status, this is something that we work hard towards, something that changes the position or changes the way that we may interact in society. And then our master status. The master status is the most important one, because this is how people identify you socially and how they begin to interact with you. So I need you to think about this. So when you are in a college classroom, automatically your master status is as a college student. People don't know if you are a younger sibling, a parent, if you are a firefighter, if you are a nurse. People don't know that. So the only way they know to interact with you within that environment is based on what they see. And in the classroom, they interact with you as a student. That would be your master status. So I need you to kind of keep that in mind. When you have these three different statuses, ascribed status, achieved status, and master status, the behavior that you function in with those status, it changes over the status that you're in. Again, your role is your behavior, what the expected behavior is. When we think about our role set, I talked about my status sets, and then we have our role sets. This figure or this picture that's on the slide and it's in your textbook is almost kind of like the author of the textbook was taking a peek at my life, because I function in the status as a professor. So I'm a teacher and I'm a colleague. I'm a mother. So I have maternal roles, I have civic roles. I'm a researcher. I do field work and then I write about it. The only one that I'm not is a wife. Okay, so but if I were, we'd see how I would have some behavior that may work well together. It may conflict at times. Our status and our role, how does it work well together? Sometimes it doesn't. So when we see that the role is not working well with the environment that we're in, we may experience something that you see here on this slide: role conflict or role strain. When we have role conflict, we're looking at the two different sets of behavior, or I should say the expected behavior is conflicting with the two statuses that you may be functioning in. My status as a daughter and as a mother It may conflict with when I'm trying to give punishment to my children, it may conflict with my mother, who may be trying to offer her resources or her input. When we talk about role strain, we get in this place where I'm functioning in this status. Oh my gosh, but I can't carry the burden of what's expected of me in both of these two different situations. When we get into these situations, this is where we begin to experience this idea or this concept of role exiting, where we just begin to question our ability to do things, and we just have to leave a status, leave a position behind. So there we go. When we talk about how we interact every day, we have our position, which is our status, and our behavior, which would be the role. When we talk about the social construction of reality, the social construction of reality is dealing with, again, from this symbolic interaction perspective, what is it that I'm seeing and what is making sense for me? How am I making sense of the environment around me? When we talk about the social construction of reality, we get into this whole idea of ethnomethodology. When we talk about ethnomethodology, this is what's important. This is what we're studying when we're looking at how people are making sense of everything around them. How are they making sense of the behavior that's expected, yet the behavior that they want to portray? How are people making sense of the way they're supposed to function in a given environment? When we talk about the social construction of reality, this is where when we were in chapters 3 and 5, when we talked about the power of the media, this is where we see kind of how social media sometimes can, do we want to say taint, maybe? Can it help? Can it hinder the way that we make sense of what's going on around us? All of this plays into a researcher who we were introduced to in chapter 1, Erving Goffman. Erving Goffman, his theory, the dramaturgical analysis of the self. How you present yourself determines the way people interact with you. Erving Goffman said that we are all actors on a stage. One day I will be Annie on a Broadway stage, but in the meantime, I'll just serve as your instructor of this course. When we talk about being actors on a stage, we have to recognize how we make sense of our environment and what status, what position we're holding, and how that behavior is going to be impacted by a couple of other variables. First, the character that we play. Are you the same person with your parents, with mommy, daddy, auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa, as you are with your friends on Friday night? I don't want to tell anybody's business, but I see you thinking about it. When you wear your clothing, when you choose your clothing, are you wearing the type of clothing that you feel is respectable of who you are or of who people expect you to be? Now, if you're going out Friday night with your friends, gentlemen, sometimes, you all get all showered up, put on your nice little t-shirts, have your baseball hats on, feeling kind of funky. And ladies, sometimes you get on some extra war paint. Girls, you know what I'm talking about. We put on our 5-inch heels. What character are we trying to portray? And for whose purpose? That's what Erving Goffman is talking about. How do we present ourselves on the stage of life? When we talk about this dramaturgical analysis of the self, we got to think about our performances. We got to think about the nonverbal communication. Oh my, oh my. What are we saying with our body language? What are we saying with our facial expressions? You know that little eye game you play in the bar on a Friday night when you see that special someone that you just want to say, hey, to? How are we interacting non-verbally? How does that impact based on, or I should say, how do we see that played out based on our gender? Oh my word, oh my word. Yes, we are getting into some stuff pretty deep here. When we talk about the dramaturgical analysis of the self, we're looking at what makes sense for me in the environment that I'm in. Now, I want you to think about some things, good people. When we're talking about what makes sense for me, the position that I'm in and the behavior that I must hold, how is it impacted when we think about the aging process? I included this film in this week's folder called Grandpa, Do You Know Who I Am? It is facilitated by Maria Shriver. And it takes us on this journey in talking about how Alzheimer's impacts the family from one generation to the next. When you're watching this video, good people, I need you to do something for me. I want you to take off and turn off the emotions, because it can be an emotional documentary that you're watching, but turn it off. And I want you to view this documentary as if you were Irving Goffman, as if you were a sociologist, looking at and assessing how someone is making sense of the environment around them. How does that factor into the status, the position that they hold, and their role, the expected behavior? All right, good people, that was chapter 4 in a nutshell. Read through the chapter. Make sure that you take the opportunity to review the PowerPoint slides that are also in this week's folder, and take the opportunity to watch that video, Grandpa, Do You Know Who I Am?, with your eyes wide open. I need you to think about what you're thinking about, but think about it from the perspective of how are these people making sense of the world around them? And is their behavior meeting expectation? All right, good people. Love, peace, and bacon grease. I'll catch you on the flip side.